Hey guys, this is Dark Rocker here. Getting back onto the documentary, so to speak, of my career. And then we get over to 2013, which is a little different. By this point, um, by this point, Jake is involved with a girl named Jennifer, who I knew in school. So the way this works is that I knew Jennifer in school when I was in sixth grade. I met her, or no, I'm sorry, fifth grade. I met her, and um, so I knew her from when I was like 9. Um, um, and she played as Vicious Violence in the wrestling. Um, I don't know why it's so weird to think that um, she was there in 2012. I don't think she was. I'm just trying to think here for a second. 2012, we're hanging out and at Jake's mom's, Stephanie's, like every day. That was over. God, excuse me. That was over at Fox Run in Clifton Park, and then she moved to Strawberry Ridge over in Waterford. Um, you know, I think might have been what threw me off. Because for some reason I'm having a hard time remembering what the apartment layout was for. Okay, you know what? Never mind. Now I remember. Okay, and that was coming back to me now. Okay, so yeah, it was definitely 2013. That it might have been like the end of 2012. But I know 2013, or might have even been the end of 2013. I don't really. No, it was definitely 2013. It was like spring, summertime that they kind of met and fell in love. So, anyways, um, 2013 was an interesting year. I felt like for me, I lost a bunch of weight, and I felt happier and somewhat healthier. I feel like um, it was weird because Arcane and I hung out more than I did with Jake, and Jake was living with his girlfriend at the time. Um, so I'm just gonna throw my honest opinion about everything right now, with all due respect. Uh, when when Payne and I brought back the Dark Alliance, I thought it was funny, but it wasn't as fun as when we did it before. I thought we were trying to recreate what had already happened. Um, and it just like to me was I don't think I like really thought it was as great as he did. Um, and then uh, um, Doctor Reality, I kind of felt like that was the beginning of like a bit of too much, you know. Um, Jake literally would put himself at the end of every clip, and this isn't a shot at him or whatever, but it just got like really annoying. I remember that at that point I was like kind of really frustrated and contemplating killing off my character. I mean, there was things that we did that I really like, kind of enjoyed. You know, it's not like I like had any like major like heat or whatever, but you know, I just feel like in that time in the direction and stuff. I don't recall what Chuck was doing. I think he just was there as like, oh, excuse me, like his own character, you know. Um, I like, I don't really, I don't remember much about whatever Chuck was doing at that time, but a lot of my focus was on Jake and Rob. Um, but yeah, I wasn't really on a health standpoint. I felt like that was a good year for me, but on like a you know a wrestling standpoint, I was just didn't really. I don't really have a lot of memory of like what I did in UW. You know, um, and I don't know if that's just because of all the alcohol I drank, or like if it was just like I wasn't happy. You know. Um, 2013, I think that's when like the Schenectady movement was coming by, and like at least what I call it, and like Crazy J was there, and King Flex, and I never met Flex though. I never met him, never really had a match or anything, but I met Crazy J, and Crazy J had a secret gay attraction to me, and we never really did anything, but he opened up to me about that. Um, the only thing I'll take away from Crazy J was he seemed like a nice guy, but just a little too ghettoish for me. Um, I didn't like wrestling him. He he his mentality was to have a work, or I'm sorry, not work, have a shoot versus work, meaning like he wasn't kind of, not about like, if it's scripted wrestling, there's okay, like let me do this, that, and third, not, I'm gonna win, but you're gonna like not let me do anything, So I don't really think that this is really the, you know, um, I really think it was a good idea to have him in. I mean, but the triple threat match that we did, I thought it was Extreme Emergency, if I'm not mistaken. I thought that was pretty cool. Um, but, um, but yeah, overall 2013 was actually one of the better years that I can think of. It really wasn't as bad as I thought it was. It was just like 2014, and again, 2014 is another year that I kind of blended in with 2013. Um, I don't really have much to say about 2014. Um, so a great question that I'll answer, and I know that's in the past. It's been well over 10 years, and I'm just gonna open up about it. Um, no hard feelings, no disrespect. It's not even like it's water under the bridge. It's what I'm gonna say is the story that really influenced the original idea for the documentary called Dead End: The Story of Dark Rocker, which also influenced the um, event name that we had called Dead End that just didn't happen because um, for whatever reason. So I'll kind of get into the beginning of this, and it's not because of Halloween, but I feel like it kind of started it. So and like I said, I don't lose sleep over this, but I feel like I'd be at peace if I just put this in here. Halloween 2014. Jake's mom gets drunk and wants to go out to the bar in Albany. She calls a taxi cab. We get dropped off, and lo and behold, we have no way to get back home. And we're wandering the streets in Albany. We get to my phone at the time had a flip phone. It would constantly die on me. So try to call Chuck. talk to him, then my phone dies. We stayed in a hotel overnight. You gotta remember, at this time I wasn't working, didn't have a car, didn't really have anything, so I was kind of more on the nervous side. Didn't know what to do. Jake's mom talks me into letting us stay at a hotel, and we do. And we get to go home the next morning. Okay. I was really upset that time because of the whole what had happened. If it was something like now, it wouldn't be a big deal, but at that time it was a totally different environment that I was in. Jake and I hanged out. I think like December 27th of 2014 we hung out, and then December 28th, 2014, we go back over to his house, and I wasn't staying the night, but that was the last time that I went over to his mom's house. And 2014, most of that year, I specifically remember watching my best friend, whose girlfriend who just had a kid with him, leave him, and I felt really bad for that. I didn't like the fact that he wasn't trying to better himself, and he wasn't trying to look for a chance to try to get his kid back. Instead, it was constant fighting and arguing with his mother, which I'm not trying to take a shot at that, you know. But watching my best friend try to kill himself on a daily basis really got to me on a mental state, and I couldn't keep stopping him from hanging himself. It just was too much for me. And I would, closer to the new year, I would get all these texts and stuff from Jake that, I'm gonna kill myself, I'm gonna kill my girlfriend, all this different stuff. And I want to say, and then I would get messages of him with like a bloody head or blood over himself, and it just really I was worried about him, and I was also worried about something legally happening to me, that if he actually did go and try to do something, would I get in trouble for not saying something? To which multiple people have told me that I would have faced some serious, crime for that. Not as bad, but because So February 13th, 2015, I get this text from Jake, and he says, and I've learned. It took me a while, but I've learned that 9 times out of 10, whatever he says is bullshit. And it took me a while, but I've learned to realize that. He texts me on February 13th, 2015, and says he's got a gun. He's got to go to Jen's house and kill her. And I told my mom about it. I told Brandon about it. Brandon told me just ignore it. And I ended up just was like, you know what, I can't do this. And I contacted Rob, and we had a nice talk, and Rob said you can't have that in your life if you've got to deal with that bullshit. And I ended up blocking Jake, and it was the first time that I blocked him, and first real hiatus of Dark Rocker. And I don't have any regrets over that. The only thing that bothers me is that Jake and I never talked about that. In 2015, I never talked about how in 2015 he would constantly text and harass me through different accounts on Facebook and through my phone and stuff. I ended up getting my number changed a week later. I just couldn't deal with it anymore, But that's a story that stayed with me for a while. I'm glad to finally get off my chest. Like I said, I have no hard feelings now. I have no heat against Jake about, now. Um, but at that time, I was like, okay, like I can't do this anymore. And at that time, kicking him out of my life was actually the best decision I made, because after that, like a couple months later, a month later, I went on the vegan diet. Then a month after that, I went to go volunteer in Honest Way, which opened up the door for me to start my working career. So a year later, I started working for Walmart, and here I am, less than 10 years later, I'm already working as a nurse's aide at a nursing home, where I'm making 10 times as much as I did when I started working for Walmart, and making like probably by now 60-70 grand a year, so but that's that. The most that Dark Rocker did in 2015 was hang out a lot with my old school friend Ben, and I did hang out a few times with Brandon, and with Brandon it was just laughter and just watching funny videos and stuff, and with Ben, it was recording music and stuff. Unfortunately, I don't have any of those old recordings that I made, but we do like bass and drums, and I would sing and play guitar and stuff. We did some poetry stuff too, so, but yeah, no, wrestling, there was a thing I did with Rob that kind of relates to the Dead End story, and we'll talk about that next time I start recording. Hey gang, we continue on to our story of what I can remember. So I'm off the next 4 days, which means that I don't really plan on doing any audio recording on this topic. Something obviously could change, because I did want to record some nature videos for my poetry film. So there's there's a possibility, but all I'm saying is not planning on it. I remember a couple nights ago, when I was driving home from work, I kind of talked about 2015 and kind of like the what led me to Dark Rocker's legitimate hiatus, and what I didn't get a chance to talk about was the what it was like with Rob, our pain, and I want to kind of go through that. So, February 2015, the part of the story that people don't know about is that Rob and I did catch up, and we did get to hang out with each other. It wasn't February that we got together, but alright, so I do remember, we did get together in February. I do remember that now. Down the road from where he was living in Schenectady at the time, there was a little coffee, cafe, and he had a friend named Arthur that owned the place, and there was another kid that he knew that worked there. I forget the kid's name, but he was a nice kid. And we kind of got together, and I know that UWA was already started as a thing, I think, in 2014. I think Rob was it was 2013, 2014. I think 2014. But anyways, it could have been 2013. I can't exactly remember. I know he would remember better than I would. But we were kind of doing some recording with that, some promos and stuff, and It's really funny because two of my last matches with UW before I took my hiatus, both in 2015 and again in 2019, my last two matches had to do with Arpain, and they also were surprisingly my two. I don't want to say favorite matches, but I had a lot of fun with them, you know. And and um, the one in 20. I'm sorry, it wasn't 2015, but 2014. That match actually wasn't recorded. It was just basically more or less a house show type match, but it was a lot of fun, you know. And so we were gonna record for a contract signing. We were gonna do. It was supposed to be this huge 60-minute Iron Man match. We call it a Power Man match. It was supposed to be like a match that I've been wanting to do for a while, and we did the contract signing in 2015, and we're planning on doing this thing, and then I didn't hear anything for 6 months. So then, which, you know, I don't remember where my brain was at during that time. But then August rolled around, and he calls me out of nowhere, and we start talking again. We hang out again, and I don't remember if we shot any videos. I'm sure we did. I just can't really remember. And then I didn't hear anything again until February 2016, and it was 2 years that I heard from February to August to February to August again, and which is whatever. People have their own lives and stuff, you know, and I get it, you know. But I was really fixated on this match, like, okay, like, when are we gonna do it, you know? You know, so it just was planned out, but it never went anywhere, I guess. By August 2016, I've worked 2 months into my wasn't really my first job, but if you want to be technical, you can call it my third job, but it really was to me a first job, and that was when I worked at Walmart, and I want to say that um, by this point in my life, there wasn't really much going on with anything about the wrestling or whatever. I think Rob and I still talk to each other, just not as much. And Brandon and I talk to each other. I don't know if it was very often. You know, I do remember rewinding a little bit. I do remember in 2015 him telling me. I do remember him telling me in 2015. We're having a conversation. And he was like, "Do you think that there's a chance that you and Jake and I will hang out again with each other?" And I told him not in this lifetime. And it was really funny because like around that time, like not long after I said that, Guns N' Roses got back together and they were doing the Not in This Lifetime tour, so it was really ironic. But yeah, I want to say that this was around like April of 2017 that I was at Walmart and I was on my way up to like the service desk because I was doing what they call reshops, where you put things that are scattered around the store and they pick up and you're supposed to put them back where they go. I went over to grab the cart to go and do that, and excuse me, and That's when I saw Jake's sister and her at the time boyfriend. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on his name. It will eventually come to me, but anyways, they were surprised to see me, and then I got talking to her, and then she sent me her Steph's number, and I honestly was afraid to talk to Jake at that time. To this day, I still have not anger or animosity or grudges towards him, but I don't feel like I really got a true apology for all the messages that he sent me through Facebook and stuff, and the harassing and stuff. Yeah, which it is what it is. Sometimes in life, people aren't kind of just straight up apologize to you, and you just kind of have to take their hand of friendship, of trust, as a sign of it's their way to apologize. And I know it's not what you really want, but it's at that time, there was a lot of excuses, I was under the influence and stuff and whatever. Okay, I've been there too, so whatever. But I remember talking to his mom, and that alone right there, going to Waterville, spending time with his mom, and just us two, because I really liked her a lot, and I liked when we used to, before craziness started happening, we used to sit together and talk about poetry, and we lay and watch the stars and go out for night walks and stuff, and she, she had problems and stuff, but she was one of my true friends at one time, and I really admired my friendship with her, and it just was really nice to kind of catch up with her and spend time with her again. And she had let me know that she let Jake know that they were talking to me again, and it's weird how that works. And I remember my first conversation on the phone with Jake was it was kind of a bit of a relief, In a way, I kind of looked at our friendship as DX, Shawn Michaels and Triple H, myself being Triple H and being Shawn Michaels. And I remember 2017 was actually a pretty, I liked the return of Dark Rocker. I liked the whole, where things were going. It probably in a while was actually the healthiest I've been in UW at all. I felt like when I watched any videos based on 2017 back, I feel like I really like my image, my size, just I'm really proud of myself. At that time, wasn't mentally in a mentally stable spot, but physically I felt pretty great about myself. Not to a T, but definitely something. And it was just a lot of fun. And then I caught up with Payne again, and he saw the videos, and him and I got together, and then we filmed something, and then we I don't really remember what happened though, because at some point in 2017 and 2018, 2019 especially, there's a bit of anger and problems and stuff, and it ends up being that I think I left at least once during each of those years, because I couldn't deal with and I mean, it's in the past, I know, but at the time, I couldn't deal with the toxicity I felt from Jake and our friendship. And it was like, I don't remember what happened in 2017. I really can't remember. I just know that there's a point in that time where I kind of felt like I was slipping back into this negative spot, and I really don't remember why I ended my friendship with him that time. But I do remember that in 2017, I don't know why I can't remember the tail end of it, but 2018, I remember. Well, I think what happened was I think in 2018. I really don't remember about 2018. I do remember most I remember about 2018 was towards the summer into the autumn, and then the end of it. That was when I started getting involved with doing the artists formerly known as Dark Rocker and Soulless, and you know, Soulless started. All right, so originally I think it was the artist formerly known as Soulless, and I think I was trying to kill off the Dark Rocker character. I didn't want to be him anymore. I didn't want any existence of that. I didn't want to be related to that. So I changed to Soulless, which is based off of a 5-part song by an artist called Exile Lord, who was on YouTube. And at the time, Rob and I were getting together back in the whole UWA thing, or UAW, or whatever. I think you called it UAW at that time. And we were kind of open up about the 6-minute Power Man match again. And then Jake and I became friends again, and we were doing stuff, with Soulless and everything. And I'll be kind of quick about this because 2018 and 2019 are both very similar to me. They were a lot of fun. I enjoyed what I did. I thought it was a very great time for Dark Rocker. I loved playing the Soulless character. I loved playing the artist formerly known as Dark Rocker. They're two characters that I absolutely loved and enjoyed playing. Unfortunately, during that time, my stress level was at its absolute highest, and I'll be quick about this because I'm going to be closing this down soon. But I just want to finish this off before I go into the 2019 hiatus. I worked over at Walmart doing 12-hour shifts. I was very stressed out. At the time, I was very, and I hate to admit this, but I was very abusive to my pig, Eleanor. I was very stressed out because my father and his girlfriend were taking money from me, and it was really terrible for me. My best friend Rachel, I used to talk down to her almost on a daily basis on the phone. I would yell at her a lot. I'm very regretful of all this stuff. I was not on medication yet, and I was just probably the most stressed I've ever been. So of course, with that stress and stuff, I switched over to alcohol.
I'm just gonna finish this up really quick before I go inside. I want the light on from the car flashing into the window. Well, when I got into heavy alcohol drinking, it became an addiction, and I was wasted almost every night. And when I did the Dark Rocker promos as the artist formerly known as Dark Rocker, a lot of them were extremely long because I was so intoxicated. And I don't think there was ever anything I shot with UW or shot with any of the matches or promos or whatever that I wasn't intoxicated or wasn't a little bit, wasted. That's like the biggest downfall for me with that whole thing. And 2019 is another adventurous story that I'd like to talk about soon. So next time I record, I'll start talking about that. Hey guys, this is Dark Rocker here, and I'm outside on the farm. Got one paddock left to do. It's 11:24 at night. Hooray, hooray. But seriously, wanted to kind of continue on my story. Originally I was kind of thinking about taking a walk, and I'm actually getting a little tired, so I probably won't take the walk tonight. However, I also, and my phone's at like 27%, and I don't want it to go extremely low on this when I take the walk. So I figure, got one paddock left. My Bluetooth speaker is kind of dying on me. So I was like, all right, why don't I just record a little bit for this podcast, and kind of talk about 2019. 2019 to me was just kind of blended in with 2018. It's hard to kind of, for me, it's hard to kind of like separate the two. One takeaway I will say is that 2019 was really it was a really interesting year because it was pre-COVID. That was the year that I moved into the farm, which I'm still there. I mean that in a good way. It was the last actual time that we saw Dark Rocker and UW, before the return in 2024. It was a lot to it. It was the longest hiatus of Dark Rocker. It was just crazy, returning wasn't even a question. It's kind of ironic because the last thing I did before the 2015 hiatus and the 2019 hiatus was doing some sort of fight with Art Payne, and I kind of, in all honesty, as like a heel, I kind of felt like that was the best way for Dark Rocker to go out, was to stab both his Biohazard partner in the back and his Dark Alliance partner in the back. And I kind of, looking back, kind of wish that like my career ended at that point, for UW. That was a perfect way to go out. The reason why I kicked Jake out of my life again at that time was, he was texting me all this, stuff that I didn't really care about, and one thing that stuck out to my mind was, I forget if it was 2019 that, I don't know if that year was like, no, it was two different incidents of why I kicked him out, and I forgot, or two different incidents that we had a falling apart, and I forgot about the 2018 thing that came back. And so to kind of backtrack a little, 2018, he had a court date scheduled, and it's all in the past, so it's not like it changes anything. It's not like it makes a difference today. But, I'm just going to say my side of the story. So he was living at my great uncle's house in Saratoga with me. And Brandon, our friend, who Jake lived at his house, his mom's house there. So he get his mail there. And there was some, I don't even remember like what the whole detailed story was. But it was basically that the police were looking for Jake, and Brandon contacted me and called me up and said, "Hey, can I talk to Jake?" I said, "Yeah, sure." And so Jake kind of got into an argument with them and nephew and and whatever, and and it kind of just went into like, not like a big heated argument or anything, and but I know that it wasn't really anything positive. And this was back when I worked at Walmart, so I'm sitting in the break room, and I get a message on Facebook Messenger from Brandon. He says, "Hey dude, how come you haven't answered my calls? Have you been getting my text messages?" I said, "No, I haven't. What's going on?" He said, "Call me." And I looked at my phone and I found out that Jake had put him on my blocked list. So I contacted him and I said, well, let me rewind just a little. So it ended up being that they had a court date for Jake, and he was supposed to go, and I told him that my father could bring him, and then he said that his mom could bring him. And so I contacted his mom, and she said, yeah, I can take him. I said, okay, well, just you're sure, because my father has no problem taking him. So the time comes, and that's when Brandon contacted me and said, hey, Jake didn't show up to his court date, and said now they got a warrant for his arrest. And now I'm like really upset because it kind of stabbed me in the back. It's like when I got home from work that Sunday to go to court, he came around the corner and was like, oh dude, you came back from work the exact same time they came back from my court date, or my court appointment, which tells me that he just hid behind the shed in Uncle John's backyard and made it seem like he was going over there. And it really kind of bothered me because okay, well, first of all, you lied to me, and second of all, I know we all don't want to really face the music, but my decision to really kick him out of the house, at the end of the day, it really was my influence. But my great uncle was like, I don't want to harbor a fugitive, and so it was like the final decision, And I called up Jake's mom, and I was like, hey, I thought you said that you were going to take him over to the court thing. And she was like, oh, well, he said that he had a friend that was taking him. I said, okay. I said, well, now they got a warrant for his arrest. And at this time, this was actually around her birthday. It was that weekend, and he was over at her house celebrating her birthday. And she was like, I said, Uncle John doesn't want him staying here. And she was like, which I'm not going to apologize for what I said, because it's like he lied, and he took advantage of me, his best friend at the time, or his one of his best friends. And I never got an apology for that, but whatever. And anyways, so I said, well, Uncle John doesn't want him here, and I can drop off his stuff. And she's like, I can drop off his stuff to you. And she was like, well, he can't stay here. I said, you know what, that's not my problem, and I hung up. And I was really proud of myself for doing that, If the tables been turned, it would have easily been that I would have been kicked out of wherever I was living. And so, we fast forward, and then I don't remember when it was and that we ended up talking to each other again. I really don't remember. In 2019, he sent me some message. I was working at Stewart's at the time, and this was September, I want to say. And he was like, reached out to me and was like, we made plans to hang out, but during that time, my work was kind of like an on-call type thing, and we were gonna hang out, and I got called into work, so I texted him. I said, hey, I'm really sorry. I got called into work at the last minute. I gotta head in. And then that was when he had told me that, another one of those, he was gonna kill himself type stories. And I was like, you know what, fuck you, it's like over and over and over again, I gotta hear the same old bullshit, that I'm depressed, I'm gonna kill myself, it's like, just, in my opinion, and I know it's gonna spark some controversy, but just fucking do it, quit fucking whining about it, because I really, there's a point in my life, I'm like, you know what, if our friendship is that worthless to you that you got to go and fucking threaten suicide every time something doesn't go your way, then that really shows like what I mean to you. And you know, it's, you know, life goes on, right? Like, we all got some sort of, you know, heaven or whatever you want to believe in. And, you know, I'm tired of wasting my time, you know? Because the tables are turned. I kept saying, you know, hey, I'm going to go and kill myself. Then it'd be like, you know, it would get annoying after a while, you know? I have no problem with people that have depression and suicidal thoughts. Like, I go through the same thing. But I look at it as a fucking attention card. I really do. You know, because I had a few people in my family that actually went and did it, and they didn't say anything to anybody. You know. But that's my story on that. So 2019, towards the, you know, when I moved to the farm, shortly after in October, November, I ended up getting a new job. My roommate got me a job where he worked. So I was going from working at store. It's a stressful, pain in the ass job, riding my bike an hour to get back home every night at 3 in the morning. And I worked over at a residential building called The Grove in late November, and was there till 2021 in October. And during that time that I was like new at the job and everything, and like, you know, like especially around like the holiday season, Jake was like sending me harassing emails and stuff. And my only regret about all this stuff is getting the police involved. That I will apologize for. You know, I do apologize for getting the police involved. And I should have never said anything about it. Should have never did it. But you know, at that time I wasn't having the mindset I have now. Now my mindset is like, okay, if you got around me, here's my address, come on over, and we'll either talk and work it out, or we'll have a fight in the driveway. You know, that's my philosophy now. You know, and he was like making videos about me, I can't really say anything about it because I was making videos about him, and you know, so it's like we're kind of going back and forth with each other. One thing that really bothered me though is like the things that he would say about my pig Eleanor, who had absolutely nothing to do with any of this. You know, she went. You know, there was like one time that she went after him, which wasn't anybody's fault. You know, so I don't know if he held a grudge on her over that. You know, if she wanted to, she could fucking rip his leg off. But you know. But you know, when we talked again, he did apologize for all the things he said about Eleanor and all the videos he made and stuff, and you know, and I had one time, I think during 2019, I had actually befriended his ex-girlfriend Jen there, and I honestly did that to like piss him off, and you know, it's I don't have any interest in being her friend, let alone talking to her. You know, she just, to me, has nothing to do with Jake or anything, but just on a personal level, I just always thought that she was just kind of immature and just like very childish, and you know, it's just kind of hard. You know, she's not a bad person, you know, but I just don't see myself in the same, I don't really see myself in the same room as her, you know, and her family. You know, they're like leeches that, you know, they're just scumbags that leech off the system, and, you know, I made my case about that. But all that stuff I said about Jake is all shit that I had to get off my chest. It's been there for like almost over 6 years, you know, or almost 6 years, you know, so it's like, it's stuff that like really bothers me, and now that I've gotten off my chest, and eventually we'll put this on YouTube, it actually makes me feel much better. I don't, you know, at this day and age of my life, I don't go to bed wishing harm on Jake, you know. I don't, you know, what I said about like him committing suicide, you know, I would say that about anybody, you know. It's not, It's not directly to him. It's just a principle, and he's like a good reference because he's the one that used it the most. You know, I don't wish harm on him. I don't wish anything negative on him. I'm sorry. I don't, you know, I don't have any ill feelings towards him now, or, you know, no grudges and whatever, you know. Last time I talked to him was pretty positive stuff, and that's that. And then, you know, I don't have anything against Rob either, and there's gonna be some things I'm gonna say about Rob too, you know. So it's not like, I go to bed thinking like, you know, oh fuck these people, you know. But yeah, 2020. There's like one time that Rob and I got together in 2020, and that was the infamous car scene with Dark Rocker, where he hijacked Arpan's car and took it for a joyride, beat him up the crutches and stuff, you know. Or I think like right around that time, either late 2019 or early 2020, we shot the Christmas special, or 2019, sorry, Christmas special over at his friend's apartment, Bobby Gibbons. So I'm just gonna say personally, I really got my hopes up for UAW, and on paper it seemed like a great thing, and Rob never wanted to take it seriously. He never wanted to go forward with it, which to me makes me feel like he was very two-faced. There was like a really great idea that we had. We were going to do the 60-minute Power Man match, and it was going to be like a very like weird ending for the artist formerly known as Dark Rocker. It was supposed to be like a very similar ending to the Roddy Piper and Goldust backlot brawl match at WrestleMania 12. It was going to be like, you know, he strips me and at the ending and stuff, and you know, it was going to be like a really like big match that we were going to do. And my character was supposed to play it off like he had an injury to his leg, and he was the bad guy, and he was, you know, it was going to be the artist formerly known as Dark Rocker versus Captain Major Payne, and it was going to be this big thing that Rocker's got a broken leg, and the talent scout, you know, leader of the company on screen, Arthur Curtis, was kind of put Rocker in this match, and ended up being revealed that Rocker faked the injury, and it was kind of just go into this big thing. The dead end documentary idea I had for Dark Rocker's ending his UW career was going to be the name of the event, and Bobby Gibbons was going to be, I think Bobby Gibbons was going to be the referee, and Tony Cruz was a up-and-coming wrestler that was going to be involved in the company. I would call him the Crash Test Dumbass. And it was going to be that it was supposed to be that Arpane and Rocker would do this match, and Rocker would win, and then Tony Cruz would challenge Rocker for the title, and Rocker would drop it to Cruz. And it was supposed to be, from what I heard, there's supposed to be a ring involved, and it was going to be like this big thing, you know. And you're going to tell me that after like 5 years it still hasn't happened, and I was just kind of gave up on it. And then there was one night when I used to drink a lot in 2020 and 2021. There was one night that I remember getting drunk and contacting Payne, and we did a video chat, and I'm not gonna apologize because, you know, it's the honest way that I felt. You know, I'll apologize for my drunkenness, but I won't apologize for what I said. I called him up. I basically told him, like, you know, you say we're going to do this match. You say there's going to be a ring. You say all this stuff, and then we don't do it, you know? And I was bluntly honest, probably the most honest I've ever been with them in my life, you know? Wasn't scared to tell him how it is, you know? I tell you the truth, you know, regardless of how tough he is, I was fucking pissed off, you know? And can I say I'm pissed off today? No, because I've given up on it. I just don't care, you know? But at the time, you know, I was really, like, told him, like, you know, like, sick and tired of you procrastinating, wasting my time, you know? You know, because during this time, I was like, okay, Rocker is going to turn into a British character, you know? It's going to be like a British hierarchy, you know? And then, it was kind of going back and forth between the leg entry character to the British character, and Payne contacted me the next day and was like, hey, Scott Hall, you better not show up drunk to our match, you know? And that turned into a little argument, but I apologized to him at the time because I, like, didn't realize, like, all the things I said when I was drinking. And he came back with, you know, you're not sorry, and, you know, and the biggest thing that really bothered me, right, is I knew that anytime I make a video, like a promo video, as, you know, Dark Rocker or, you know, him or whatever, and, well, okay, I'm not gonna say him, but, like, any video I make as Dark Rocker for you know, challenging Art Payne would rarely ever get a response. And I just felt like, after several times, I'm like, you know what, this is a fucking waste of time, you know? I want to make this promo. I want to make this video challenging someone. They're not going to respond. It's a waste of fucking time. At least one thing I would say about Jake is that he would respond. There's one thing I can say about him. You know, the Payne, you gotta forget about it. He would just not. And, I'm gonna close this up shortly, but that really bothered me. And, you know, at least I can say that nowadays my relationship with Art Payne is somewhat positive. You know, he did congratulate me on getting my license and my CNA license, and last I heard from him, he was pretty positive. Last I saw, he was somewhat, you know, nice to be around, I guess. You know, kind of, you know, it's weird. But not to get into further detail and stuff, but that right there, like the, you know, the whole, you know, constant promo for no reason bullshit, and the hiatuses, and the, you know, feeling like this is going nowhere and wasting my time, really is what built up to the Hall of Fame speech. And yeah, just I think that's basically it. And when I go back to recording, I'll kind of talk about the ending to that video. And I just say really quickly, I apologize for the ending to that video. And I was just really upset, you know. I was mad at Jake. And I was really, I don't know, just really mad that he had, was, harassing my sister, and, I guess he got caught. I guess he got caught inappropriately looking at my sister, and his girlfriend at the time contacted my sister and was harassing her and stuff, and that's why I made that video at the end. I was gonna go for a walk, but it's raining right now, and I don't know where there would be an umbrella around here, if there even is one around here. No big deal. So, I guess the rain's supposed to clear up in like a half hour. So if it does, I'll probably consider going for a walk. But I really want to wrap this whole documentary up and just be, done with it and move on. I just don't feel like I want to hold on to this whole past life of Dark Rocker. I kind of want to move forward. When this does get uploaded, I don't think it's going to be the last thing that I upload, because there's still several videos to go onto YouTube for the Dark Rocker and Friends show. And those videos, when I try to move them to my Google Drive and then try to download them to my phone, it won't let me download them to my phone, so I have to literally screen record everything. So it takes even longer, and then however long it takes to upload them straight to YouTube. I don't know how long the videos will be up for, because they're a lot of them, because Jake puts music in the background, or used to. A lot of these videos get flagged for copyright issues. They don't get taken down. I don't really get like a big strike or anything, but I get like your video is blocked in certain areas. So as a matter of them being on YouTube after this is all done, I'm not really 100% sure if I'm gonna end up keeping them on YouTube. I'm kind of just like trying to organize things in the best way that I can. A couple ideas that I had for Dark Rocker for like a podcast, if I do decide to continue on with things, was one to go back and do commentary on all the old videos. Not anytime soon. That's really a matter of if, in the future when that time comes. I don't really have any set plans on it now. And the other thing was to go through every single character and give my opinion about them. Maybe down the road, but I don't really see it anytime soon, but anyways, so I want to say June of 2024. I ended up getting really sick. I don't know exactly like what caused it. There's theories out there, but I'm really not 100% sure. It's like a combination of like eating disorders and gastro type of issues. But I couldn't eat anything. Couldn't swallow. I couldn't drink anything. Everything would just come back up. And I'd have to try like baby sips of water and Pedialyte, and it still would come back up. And I'd like losing, dropping weight. I remember in like a 4-day period, I dropped 10 pounds, and it lasted like close to 3 weeks. And I'm losing like about 30 pounds. lost all the weight, and with a video on Facebook, kind of giving an update, and it was a really dark time for me, and unfortunately, I've gone through this multiple times within the past year. Nothing was as crazy as the first time it happened. There was like a second episode that was just as bad, but I've probably gone through this 5 or 6 times now, just not as extreme as these 2 episodes that happened. It was a very like the him character kind of like was like partially influenced by this whole thing. It was like a big depression type thing I was going through, and a very nihilistic, dark feeling that I kind of felt like like this feeling of being like hollow, like being empty inside, and just got to the point where I didn't want to live anymore and stuff, and I remember that after I posted the video, and I wouldn't have known this if I didn't search for one of his channels, because I had unsubscribed to his stuff, and I was like trying to avoid his existence and trying to just separate myself. But something told me to look up his name, and just out of curiosity, and I don't know if it was a week after I put up the video that I noticed, or a week after he made a video. I don't know how the timing worked. I don't remember. But I know that that Jake put up a video wishing me well, and was really extremely concerned about me and stuff. I actually a couple of close people to me thought that it was cancer related. And luckily it wasn't, but that meant a lot to me, and it wasn't the last time that I saw her from Jake, but it was the opening door to getting together again. I kind of wish that I was there on Halloween to spend with him, him and his family, but I wasn't really feeling too well. But that really did mean a lot to me. And the last match that I did, my roommate and I went up north to go get hay. So it was a funny story. The hay truck, you gotta figure it's probably I don't know, after everything's all said and done, it's probably 10, maybe 10, 12 feet in the air. And I jumped off of it. And I always, no matter how old I got, whenever I wrestled Jake, I always got nervous because when he picked me up on the shoulders, I always got, I don't know if it was a fear of heights or what it is, but I always got scared to land. And I always end up doing something, where that's him throwing me too hard, or me just getting too scared and not landing right. And our last match that I had, I forget how I landed, but I hurt my ankle, pretty bad, and ended up limping at work that night, because it was a night that I was going in on a day off, and was working. It was 11 at night to 3 in the morning, and that was back before not long before the supervisor we had passed away. And I remember people saw me limping and stuff, and they were wondering if I was okay. And I told them to jump out the hay truck because I was too embarrassed to tell them that I hurt my ankle in a backyard wrestling match. But that's really it. As far as what's going on now in the life of Dark Rocker, still working, still living and working on the farm. Still working 12-hour shifts at work. I was doing 13, but now it's between 12 and 13-hour shifts. There's some goals I have. Currently, though, I'm got a new rooster named Ringo that I've had for over a month now. So, he had I don't know if he fell. I don't know what the story is, but he had an injury to his leg that I was really nervous and upset about. So I went to the vet, they did laser treatment with them, and sometime this week they're going to do a second laser treatment and an acupuncture. And I've been doing physical therapy with them every day. I'd like to take them out and let them roam around in Arnold's house, you know. So I have my button quills, Squeaky and Miley. Poppy passed away last year, unfortunately. But you know, Miley, my button quail, she didn't have any feathers on her back for the longest time that I had her. And now she's finally got her back feathers growing, so I'm really excited about that, and she's really thrilled about it too. My horse Ren lives on a different farm. I sold him to a rich lady who paid me $2,000 for him. I miss him, and I kind of want to go and see him. I can see him at any time I want, but I just gotta let them know ahead of time. But I like to plan the day to go and see him, you know. And they wanted to make him a therapy horse, so I figured he'd have a better life if he went with them. And you know, I don't really. It's hard to like have like a pet like that requires that much maintenance because with everything going on, it's hard for me to stay committed to it. Eleanor is still alive. She's doing good. Not really too much going on. Dark Rocker doesn't really have any set goals, you know, for wrestling. I know that the writing's been on the wall for a while. I know that there is never going to be anything to do with UAW. I know that, you know, anything with our pain is just going to be like smoke and mirrors. Anything with Jake is going to be limited if anything exists. The only thing I'll say is that I'm open to making promos as Dark Rocker, you know, but I'm keeping in the back of my mind that it's not going to go anywhere. If I do decide, I thought about bringing Doug Loves back and Arthur Curtis and, you know, all these guys, and it's possible, but it's just there's a part of me that's like, I don't really, you know, I never say never, but I don't really, you know, there's a lot of ideas that I have. With actually going through with them is like, you know, I kind of thought about like when Jake was doing the character of you know, challenging different, like the wrestling messiah, and he was challenging different people and they weren't responding, and he was like acting like he defeated them and he's on like a winning streak. I thought about doing that as a Dark Rocker character. I thought about doing like Doug Loves comes back, where he lives on nothing but canned beans, and he calls himself Canned Bean Johnson. And Dark Rocker is found having to move to the Middle East, and he calls himself Muhammad Farouk al-Baghdadi. And Arthur Curtis tries to get them back to UAW or UW, whatever one is there, or they want to go to. The Rocker still has the broken leg; it's never healed, and then Rocker comes back, you know, as Glam Rocker. You know, I wanted to redo the whole him and elimination thing, and it's just I mentioned this before. I was like really angry that like it just all went to nowhere. It was like a complete waste of time. Like it was like one of those like how Jake would get upset about things not going the way he wanted on certain dates, and I got that too, but I wasn't like really that big. And then like, you know, I really like the way I mapped it out in my head was that I think 2021 is going to be like you know, I'm glad that him debuted on 7/31, you know, but you know, before that thought even occurred to me, it was going to be Dark Abyss debuting on March 27, 2021, and all these dates except for one of them were supposed to fall on a Sunday. 6/27/21 it's going to be the artist formerly known as Dark Rocker. 9/27/21 was going to be Starbreaker, and then 12/27/21 was going to be Soulless. And on that date, 12/27 was going to be the completion information of Illumination. And like Dark Rocker was going to change the name to Glam Rocker, and then go back to the artist formerly known as Dark Rocker. And maybe at that time, if I had been friends with Jake, it probably would have like been able to work out in a way. But you know, with Rob, I can't hold it against him. But it's like, you know, like, which is like really wasting my time, you know. And in 2021, like in February, I really wanted us to bring back the Dark Alliance, like as an anniversary, you know. I mean, I can't hold grudges on Rob, you know. I can't, you know, be like, you know, fuck him because that didn't work out, you know. But what I know now is seeing that the last 10 years is just like a complete, like, just like build up to nothing. It doesn't even make me want to like even have a conversation about wrestling with Rob. You know, it makes me think like, you know, like the next time that I hear from him and he says anything about wrestling, I'm gonna be like, okay, well, you know what? I'll believe it when I see it, you know. That was one thing Jake was right about. Jake would say, you know, you guys' wrestling's gonna go nowhere, you're not gonna do anything, and I know how it is, and you know, and he was right, you know, and I like hated to admit that, like he was right about that, you know. There was I think the sun kind of cleared up. There was no there was there's nothing that was gonna happen. And I realized and try to believe otherwise, and you know, got my hopes up, and you know, that's like, it was, you know, during that time it was actually a really pretty good opportunity. But that right there, I think, is the ending to this. And you know, Dark Wrecker obviously will live on for a long time in my mind. And there's no Dark Wrecker will live on for a long time in my mind. And there could be a return. Oh, one last thing I wanted to add about the Douglas Can Bean Johnson thing was two things. He was going to have a talk show called Bonding Johnsons, and he was going to start doing the Hall of Fame inductions, and they were going to be like, they're going to be based off wrestlers that passed away but that had mediocre careers. With all due respect, like, I think like he was going to do like one of the like we're talking like Umaga, Big Daddy V, you know, so the possibilities there. But right now I'm focused on trying to organize all my old videos, and focusing on my poetry and stuff. So there's a possibility, but for right now it's you know, let's say that it's black and white, you know. It's very gray right now. There could be future wrestling videos, or there could not be. So we'll see what happens. Thanks for anyone that listened to this with open ears and open mind. Hopefully I didn't spark any controversy, because I was just trying to be completely honest. And rock on. Well, we just went for a nice long walk. I recorded all the remaining videos for my first poetry book. So now I figured that while I'm walking back home, there was one idea I had as Dark Rocker to kind of wrap up the whole documentary thing, and I kind of I don't feel like I'll be doing an hour-long topic on all these hour-long recording on all these different people, but just kind of go with what I remember, and kind of talk about Dark Rocker's opinion about everybody, and the UW. This excludes anybody from UAW except for our pain. So throw it out right now. As far as Tornado, EJV, Jake Matthews, and all those people go, and you know, over in NWI or TWF or whatever the name is, to Bobby Gibbons, Tony Cruz. That's really it. I don't have any ill feelings about them. I have no dislikes about them. Just wish we all could have done something more. Most I've ever done with any of these people was a phone conversation with Tornado, which was pretty well, and a meeting with Bobby Gibbons. Other than that, nothing ill to say about any of those people. Ace. I like, from a character standpoint, I like them. I kind of wanted to see him as a champion. But on a personal level, I really didn't care for him. I thought Connor was a bully. I just never really cared about him. Maybe like 1-2 times in the beginning of our friendship, I liked him, but you know, just besides that, nothing really positive to say about him. Flame Damien. For a while I couldn't stand Jew. Thought he was a bully just like Connor. I thought he was a funny, goofy character in the wrestling, but I, could really do without him. The only positive takeaway was the comedy videos that Jake and I would film about him. The last time I saw him, he did say they respected me and stuff, and we had a pretty nice conversation, but that was like 11 years ago, so it's nothing really to say about him. Tank, you couldn't trust him. He was a thief and a liar. Not really. We're two totally different people. So I don't remember the last time I saw him, let alone even talked to him. So I haven't heard from him. His brother Ricky, who passed away, I think he was 18 when he passed away. I don't really have anything to really say about that. My condolences to his family. There's not really much to be said about that. I know that they all would make fun of me and laugh behind my back and stuff, so I really don't give a shit about any of those people. And life goes on, I guess. Demented X, Ralphie. Happy from the last time I heard that he's got a family and stuff, so happy about that for him. I just want to say that, at the time, the character is very goofy and stuff, and silly and childish and immature, which I totally get. I do feel bad about all the times that I picked on him and made fun of him and stuff, so. So I apologize for that. That's really it. Dr. Reality. I like the whole skater type gimmick. It kind of felt like Dr. Reality, like Dr. Thugonomics from John Cena. I don't know if that's like what the influence was, but yeah, it's like I got it. I didn't really get the connection with the name and the character, but it was alright, I guess. I don't have anything really ill or whatever to say about it. What else is there? Dark Abyss. It's alright. Again, like, I'm not really like mad about all this stuff. I'll say the same with Death Reaper. I'll say the same with Hellraiser. Put them all together in one. I'm just gonna say this and just end it right here because I'm like getting tired of continuing on with this. It's just, to me, just going into like a black hole. I'm just gonna give my honest, straightforward opinion, and it's with all due respect, so it's not taking a shot. I'm not trying to take a shot at characters. I'm not trying to take a shot at people that come up with names and stuff. All the characters, I did not care for a lot of character names. I did not care for a lot of presentations of characters. I did not care for, well, just that, on paper, Dark Abyss, Death Reaper, Hellraiser, Amazing X, Heartbreaker, Arcane, Reality, just to name a few of these guys. FedEx, I'm not gonna say Demented X, Tank, Blaine Damien, they all could have been great characters. To me, the names are very mediocre, and they all could have had new, better names, and the characters were just as mediocre as the names. So, to me, and the be-all, end-all result of all of it, to my eyes and my mind, and this is not a shot at Jake, this is not a shot at anybody, this is just saying it how I see it. It was just a complete waste of time and immature garbage. I've never, deep down inside, I've never made complete peace with the name Dark Rocker.